A 22-year-old man looked me in the eye and said, "A wife should obey her husband. Not respect, not listen, obey. And before you decide he's toxic, wait." 10 minutes later, a 24-year-old woman told me, "Men are getting softer, not kinder, softer, afraid to lead, afraid to provide, afraid to even act like men." Same generation, same loneliness, same fear. Two completely different conclusions. And that's when it hit me. This isn't a gender war. It's a generation trying to build love after the rules collapsed. So here's the question nobody can ask online without being dragged. Should wives obey husbands? Or are we finally escaping a broken script that should have died decades ago? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may realize both sides are grieving something real. My grandmother got married in 1953, 19 years old. My grandfather worked. She raised 4 children, cooked every meal, ran the house. And when he came home, she handed him his slippers and asked about his day. Never hers. Years later, she told me something I've never forgotten. "I loved him, but I didn't ask what I wanted until I was 50. That sentence explains an entire generation. Traditional marriage gave many women security, a roof, stability, a provider, social belonging. But let's be honest, for many women, that security came at the price of selfhood, and survival is not the same thing as freedom. Now fast forward to today. A guy in my neighborhood, 27, married 3 years. He works 50 hours a week, his wife works 45. They split the bills equally, but somehow, she still carries most of the childcare, most of the emotional labor, most of the invisible planning. And when he tried stepping up more, his father called him soft. That's the real pressure modern men are under. The old rules told men, provide, protect, never cry, be the rock. The new rules say, be emotionally available, split power, split chores, validate feelings, stay masculine, but never controlling. So men aren't necessarily getting softer. Some of them are just burning out under contradictory expectations. And women? Women aren't too independent. They're tired of disappearing inside someone else's life, tired of shrinking ambitions to make love feel safe, tired of being told sacrifice is femininity. But freedom has its own cost too. I spoke with a 31-year-old woman, senior manager, owns her own apartment, financially secure. She said something brutally honest. "I don't need a man, but sometimes I'm lonely in a way my mother never was." That line stayed with me, because her mother had a built-in tribe, church, neighbors, family nearby, a husband who stayed even when the marriage was cold. Today we have more options than ever, and sometimes too many options feel like emotional homelessness. That's the hidden conflict nobody talks about. Not men versus women. It's freedom versus belonging, autonomy versus stability, choice versus clarity. And every couple is trying to solve that equation differently. The moment I stopped judging both sides happened at a dinner party. 8 people, late 20s to mid-30s. Someone asked, "Would you sign a marriage contract with the word obey in it?" 3 men said yes. 2 women said yes. The rest looked horrified. Then one quiet guy, construction worker, traditional background, said, "I don't want obedience. I want someone who stays when things get ugly." That's not tyranny. That's fear of abandonment dressed up as leadership. Then a woman across from him, a startup founder, said, "I don't want to obey anyone, but I also don't want marriage to feel like a competition." That's the wound on the other side. Not domination, exhaustion. Nobody wants a relationship that feels like a courtroom. Nobody wants to constantly negotiate who matters more. And that's why this conversation is exploding online. Because beneath the politics, both sides are asking the same thing. Can love still feel safe without someone disappearing? Here's my honest take. Traditional roles gave clarity. Modern equality gives choice. The problem is, clarity can become control. And choice without a shared map becomes chaos. So when some men say, wives should obey, what they often mean is, I'm scared of being unnecessary. scared of having no role, no purpose, no place where their strength is wanted. And when some women say, men are getting softer, what they often mean is, I miss feeling chosen, protected, pursued, not because they are weak, because everyone wants to feel like someone would fight for them. That ache is deeply human. But here's the truth that gets everyone angry. Obedience without mutual honor becomes abuse, and independence without interdependence becomes loneliness. The healthiest marriage I've ever seen belonged to an older couple. He once said, I don't need her to obey me. I need her to tell me when I'm wrong. She smiled and said, and I need him strong enough to hear it without becoming defensive. That's it. That's the future. Not traditional roles. Not performative equality. Agreed roles. Chosen consciously. Revisited honestly. Built around strengths, seasons, and respect. That one word changes everything. Agreement. Not assumption. So if you're a man watching this, feeling like the world wants you strong, but not too strong, vulnerable, but not weak, decisive, but never dominant, I see the pressure you're under. And if you're a woman watching this, feeling like you must be ambitious but warm, independent but not intimidating, soft but never submissive, I see that exhaustion too. Neither side is crazy. Both sides are trying to survive a script rewrite in real time. And maybe that's why this topic feels so explosive, because it's not really about obedience. It's about fear. Fear of being controlled. Fear of being unloved. Fear of being replaceable. Fear of needing someone more than they need you. My grandmother stayed until the very end. She loved him, but on her deathbed, she said something that still wrecks me. Next time, I'd ask for more, not less. That is not anti-man. That is pro-human. Love should never require someone to become smaller to keep the peace. But freedom should never become pride so sharp it leaves no room for partnership. Maybe the answer was never obedience. Maybe it was always mutual surrender to a shared life. So I want your honest take. Drop your line in the comments. Obedience has no place in marriage. Men need to lead again. Both sides are hurting. I'm pinning the most thoughtful response. And if you want part 2 on how modern couples are rewriting the rules without losing respect, attraction, or love, subscribe and hit the bell. Because this conversation is not going away. And honestly, it shouldn't.